The candy bowl is always bright. Office desks, classrooms, kitchen counters. A hand reaches in, unwraps, eats, no questions. Cut to dawn in West Africa. A boy with a machete striking at a cocoa pod, lifting a sack he shouldn't be lifting. We call it a treat for our kids. So why does it still depend on the work of someone else's child? To understand that, we have to see how chocolate became too cheap to be clean. Chocolate wasn't always an everyday thing. In the 1800s and early 1900s, European and American companies figured out how to grind, sweeten, and mass-produce cocoa so anyone could buy it, not just elites. Factories in Britain, Switzerland, and later the US turned cocoa into bars, powders, and candies. Brands competed on price and volume. Chocolate became a school snack, a soldier's ration, a holiday symbol. But there was a catch. Once people are used to cheap sweetness, you can't raise the price without losing them. So the pressure moved backwards, down the supply chain, to the people growing the beans. By the late 19th century, two countries, Côte d'Ivoire and Ghana, were providing most of the world's cocoa. They became the quiet engine behind Halloween, Christmas, and supermarket candy aisles. And when the price paid to farmers stayed low, someone else had to make up the difference. On paper, cocoa farming looks simple. Harvest pods, ferment, dry, sell. In reality, it's hard, seasonal, physical work. Pods grow high, you cut them with a machete, sacks can weigh 40 to 50 kilos, pesticides can make you sick, and farms often don't earn enough for hired adult labor. So what happens? Families use their own children, or they accept children from even poorer families or neighboring countries, Mali, Burkina Faso, sometimes Togo. Boys told they'll earn money or go to school. Some do get paid, many don't. Some can't leave. Investigators have filmed kids working alone with machetes, carrying loads that could injure their backs, or handling chemicals with no protection. Not once, not in one village, across regions. The farmer is not always a villain. He's often underpaid. He sells to a middleman who sells to an exporter who sells to us. Every step keeps its margin. The farmer gets the least. So the farmer reaches for the cheapest labor available, children. And so the world's sweetest product quietly leaned on labor that legally should never be near a machete. This might have stayed on the farm forever if journalists hadn't shown up. In the late 1990s and early 2000s, reporters and NGOs went to West African cocoa regions and brought back uncomfortable footage. Kids working, kids far from home, kids doing hazardous tasks. Consumers in the US and Europe were shocked. Candy? Child labor? Industry leaders responded fast, with promises. In 2001, big chocolate companies signed on to what became known as the Harkin-Engel Protocol, a voluntary pledge to eliminate the worst forms of child labor from cocoa. It sounded noble, it made headlines, but it wasn't binding. Deadlines slipped, monitoring was uneven, certification schemes appeared. Ethical, sustainable, fair, and some did real good, but many focused on audits and logos more than on the core problem. Farmers were still not earning enough to stop using kids. So the public heard, they're working on it. And the brand said, we can't trace every bean. And the candy stayed cheap. But not everyone was satisfied with a logo. Some people kept digging.
NGOs kept counting. Some studies in the 2010s still found hundreds of thousands of children working in cocoa across Côte d'Ivoire and Ghana. Some helping family, which is common in agriculture, but a significant number doing hazardous work that breaks international standards. Some journalists returned with the same story a decade later. It's better in some places, but it's not gone. There were even legal actions in Western courts attempting to hold companies responsible, arguing they benefited from a system that made child labor likely. Meanwhile, officials in producer countries sometimes said, almost bluntly, we can't stop this unless cocoa earns more. That's the line nobody likes because it points at us, the consumers who expect a chocolate bar for pocket change. So, if everyone knows, why is the system still here? Here's the hard truth. If we demanded that every cocoa bean was traceable, every farmer earned a living income, every child was in school, the price of mass-market candy would go up. Some people would pay it, many wouldn't. So we live in this compromise. Brands roll out sustainability reports. Governments run awareness campaigns. Certifications expand. And yet, economic pressure at the farm level barely moves. We get to keep the feeling that our candy is clean without fully paying for a clean system. And that's why this story fits dark origins of everyday things. It shows how a product meant to delight children in rich countries can, at the same time, depend on the stalled childhoods of children in poorer ones. Which brings us back to the bowl. Picture the final scene. A birthday party, kids laughing, wrappers everywhere. A parent says, "Go on, take another one." Cut away one last time to a field at noon. A boy wiping sweat, lifting another sack of cocoa. Two childhoods connected by a taste.